Alright, so you may remember a while ago I had a video, I built my own NAS. Um, that has been taken apart for a couple reasons. As I said in the video, I hate FreeNAS. FreeNAS to me is overly complicated and a lot of times just plain dumb. Um, so I went with it, I got it connected, I got it running. But FreeNAS was complaining because my HD204 UI has a, quote, potential issue known to FreeNAS where you can just lose all your data, should not use this drive. Okay, fine. Never had a problem with the drive. Drive shows perfectly fine in HD, Sentinel, whatever. Dropped a different 2 terabyte in there, so had two 2s for a RAID 0, basically. So picked up a 4 terabyte drive. No, you can't do that. You have to have all your drives match in a RAID 0. Well, no, you don't, because I've done that in Windows several times. We're at software level, we're not at hardware level. So it made me completely delete the array and recreate a new array using the 3 drives. Okay, fine. Got it, got Windows to detect it. Sign in, use it, no problem. So I was only using less than 4 gigs on the array. So I deleted it again, pulled the 2 2s out so I could use one for backup and one for the 360. Recreated the array with the 4 terabyte. Windows can't find it. No matter what I do, Windows cannot find it. Try to log in through File Explorer, not authorized. Log in through the web interface, no problem. Everything's fine, I'm authorized, nothing has changed. But once again, FreeNAS has decided to just lock me out and will not let me get into it no matter what I do. So I said, screw it. I had already found an FX 6300 processor on eBay for $23.99, I think is what I got it for. So I said, you know what, screw it, we're just going to pull it apart, slap the 6300 in there, and we're going to run some benchmarks and we'll have some fun with it. So this is the disaster that has broken from that. Yeah, it's a long story. So the hardware-wise, there's nothing wrong. I have posted it before adding the drives. I did a true post and everything came clean. So we're using the GTX 580 superclocked out of the failed eBay extreme eBay build. I've got my True Power Quattro 850 in there because this requires a minimum 600 watt power supply, and this is the only power supply I have that is putting out a minimum of 600 watts. So this is in here. We're using an Antec VSK 3000 case. Now, if you'd have asked me 5 or 10 years ago how hard it was to build in this case, I would have told you it's not bad. It's a little cramped. You just have to be careful, know what you're doing, and it's fine. But after several years of watching YouTube and watching Jay and Linus and Kyle build stuff, and having built myself in Fractal and high-grade Corsairs and in the Stormtrooper down there, this sucked. This just flat out sucked. Like this back here, there is so little clearance. Like this is a half modular power supply. The only thing I have in here are the rails for the GPU and then my CPU rails and motherboard rails. One SATA rail, that's it. I can't actually put the Blu-ray drive in the top because the power supply will hit it. This build took 10 minutes alone just of getting the Blu-ray drive into the case. I need the Blu-ray drive because most likely this system will be used for ripping music to iTunes or to DB Power Amp. So an optical drive is going to be a necessity. So we have the Blu-ray drive I had laying around, 1 terabyte hard drive, our GTX 580, and then 8 gigs of DDR3. I don't believe I'll need more than that, but if I do, it's cheap right now. I can pick some up. Probably would take it to 12. I doubt I would put 16 in this. I have tested the processor. It does work. I do know that the processor will bench faster than the Core i5-2500 that's in Dad's computer, so this is the second fastest computer in the house behind Silver Lake. So while this is very, very low end by the high grade standards that you see on most tech channels, this is the second highest system that we'll have in the house at this time. This will also be convenient to have because if, like today, the wife wanted to watch Grey's Anatomy on Silver Lake, so I would still be able to keep scanning or doing whatever on this one at the same time. So I think I've got this cable managed as good as I can get it. Connections are all tight, so I'm going to put the side panel back on. It's just a solid metal side panel. There's no window here. And we'll make sure it posts again, and then we'll throw Windows and performance test on here, and we'll see what numbers look like. I did add the rear exhaust fan back into it, which was a pain because the connector's all the way into the hard drive. And if any of you were taking bets on whether or not I would actually get a new I/O shield, there is an I/O shield in place back there. So, let's fire it up. Exhausting. We're booting. 8 gigs of DDR3. Mainly I'm just going into setup to time to open the Blu-ray drive. Oh yeah, there's a copy of Windows 7. I never ejected the copy of Windows 7 from the failed build, and this is the same drive, so I just got that back. God, it's cold. And this should ask me to boot to CD. Good. Alright, cool. Well, I'll come back once I've got Windows and performance test installed. Hopefully this flash drive with p-test on is sitting up here, because otherwise it's going to be a real pain. Alright. So as you can see, FX 6300 Vishera 6-core, spec'd for 3.5 gigahertz, currently at 14, but CPU's the always records are kind of weird. 8 megs of L3 on the GA78 LMT USB 3, even though the case is on the USB 2. I'll probably bite the bullet and order a different case for this eventually, but I've got bigger and better builds to do in the meanwhile. 8 gigs of RAM, GTX 580, 1.5 gigs. Alright, so here's how we benchmarked. Total was a 2130.7. CPU came in at 7061, so that is second on our performance chart, which I'll show you in a second. 3D graphics came in at 5274, so it is behind our 970, but not too terrible. Alright, so I have crunched all the numbers, and it did not go how I expected it would. So the FX 6300 build kind of got its butt kicked on the benchmarks, and I was a little surprised, but I didn't realize just how much hardware was actually in the 2500K system that I built for my dad. So as you can see, the FX 6300, despite having a superior processor and a superior graphics card, is still 600 points behind the 2500K. Despite the two main things that you would expect, processor and graphics card, being superior. So the reason for this is because of the two subsystems that I hadn't counted on. As you can see, the FX 6300 clocks in at a 717.4 disk and a 1239.6 memory, whereas the 2500K clocks in at 2096.3 memory and 1794.7 disk. So even though it gets killed on graphics and fairly decently is behind on processor, it's just not there. And so future, the FX 6300 rig is of course not complete. I'm not leaving it in that Antec VSK 3000 case. It's fine, but it's way too cramped. It was very difficult to build in. If I ever want to make any modifications to the system, which I already know I will need to, it's just going to be a huge pain. So I'm going to get a modern, nicer tempered glass, most likely. Thermaltake has a nice one that's under 50 bucks on Amazon. Corsair has one that is like 80 with tempered glass or 60 with a plastic side panel. I don't care if it's a plastic side panel for 20 bucks. I'm good with that. So that would make a big difference. And then if I add in, I just have a trial version of Windows 10 on it right now, so I will add in a SSD and gonna add in nicer speed memory, and that'll bring us up to where I want it to be for what this system is overall capable of. As you can see, that does clock in as the second fastest processor that we have tested so far, but it's still well behind the 4790K, and it will be should be decently behind the i5 when we get it. Or if it ends up taking long enough, I may just spend the money on a 4790 and just match those two systems. I don't know. Money for that kind of stuff is kind of up in the air. Anything could happen. So that's kind of where we're at. I did. So I got two of those VSK 3000s for 50 bucks several years ago. So I did pull the second one out of its never been opened box and stole a drive bay cover and a back cover for the expansion ports. So the case is complete, everything is done. It is super top heavy. Replacing the power supply is going to be another thing that I do when I get it into its final case. So it'll be pretty good. I ordered a DVI cable so I can actually use it, because that graphics card doesn't have a DVI, it doesn't have a VGA, and if I'm gonna order something, I'd rather just order a DVI cable than a DVI to VGA adapter, because DVI is gonna serve me better down the road anyway. I can use it for more stuff. So that will wrap this up. Interesting build. Part 2 should be much nicer, much easier to work with. So thank you for watching. We will see you next time, and have a good one.